Good morning, friends. Let's talk about Grandmaster Eric Lee, Viking Samurai, and Chinese herbs for the martial arts. Okay, I saw a series of interviews. There were three of them. I did not watch them in order. The last one I watched was internal versus external martial arts and Grandmaster Eric Lee. He's very advanced in age right now. He's got to be in his 70s. I say this because sometime in the early 2000s, I went to a martial arts convention in Newark and met him, along with Dan Severn, Cynthia Rothrock, Don the Dragon Wilson, and Bob Wall, okay, and had a blast. But Eric Lee in particular, I had a great time talking to him. We were all waiting in line to talk to him and get autographs. I had a little book. I was going to be like, Mr. Lee, could you please sign my book? And I went up to him and I said, Mr. Lee, I saw you in a movie called Eagle Claw and with Peng Ging Fu, and you did a snake style, and I was just wondering, is that a northern or a southern snake style? And he looked at me, he goes, I can tell you're serious about martial arts. I can tell you're serious. And he starts just downloading information at me on get up at 5 a.m. That's the perfect time to train because that's when the chi starts to flow in your body to the lungs. And man, and at one point I was like, Mr. Lee, there's like people that are high-ranking black belts and people in suits and ties behind me. I said, these people, Master Eric Lee, I'm blown away by all the info you're giving me, but these people are waiting in line. I don't want to be rude. He goes, that's okay. I don't care. When I find someone serious about martial art, I talk to them. And then he, starts doing a dragon form, and he did it so explosively. He did a clawing motion, and his it looked like a wedding band flew off his finger. Bink! And he had a friend of his, a companion, and it's kind of funny when you meet like a very active, still active athlete or physical culturist or martial artist with one of their close friends, because the close friend usually shows their age. It was the same thing with Cynthia Rothrock, and it was an interesting contrast. And his friend helped him find it while Master Lee talked to me. So great guy, full of knowledge, genuine martial artist. He did the same for a classmate of mine years before. Very generous information. I mean, I seen a video of him talking to a former classmate of mine, and they were videotaping the whole conversation because for a solid 25 minutes, he gave my friend a personal one-on-one seminar on combat usage of snake and tiger and animal forms, all right? So he's older now. He's got to be, think about it, got to be in his 70s or close to it. He's got to be in his 70s. Got to be, if not more. And still very slim, small waist, good. He's a smaller guy, but you can tell that his legs, his arms, his forearms, even with that loose jacket, he has good proportion. He has stayed in shape and continues to stay in shape, right? And he made a couple of fast movements, so I think he still has some explosiveness, some speed. Obviously, at that age, that's not going to be your main thing. He talked about internal martial arts. And Viking Samurai asked him about chi and, the afterlife and everything. And Eric Lee was kind of shying away from the spiritual talk about chi. And I don't know Eric Lee's religious orientation. Many Chinese in this country are Christian, but they even then retain elements of Taoism and Buddhism, kind of syncretism, right? And they manage to blend it well. That's what I admire about the Chinese. They can take disparate elements and bring them together within their culture. And he talked about certain herbs. Now, he said he doesn't want to talk about the herbs because he's liable, but I will tell you this, right? There are herbs that martial artists use, and generally the way traditional Chinese medicine works is he talked about the pulse, a TCM practitioner, of which I am, right? Although I'm not actively practicing, but I went through training at Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I have an acupuncture degree. At one point, I had a provisional license under someone else. One of my kung fu brothers, Avery Mann, who has passed, and in Maryland, I had a Maryland license. Okay. So I will tell you that the way it works is they take your pulse, they ask you the 20 traditional questions, and they can ask you more, and they look at your tongue. From that, they develop what they call a Zong Fu diagnosis. The Zong and the Fu represent the full and the empty internal organs. They have their own classification of internal organs and organ functions. It's a very different way of looking at the body than the admittedly powerful reductionist Western way of looking at things, which brings things down to components and focuses on the material. Chinese medicine focuses on the relational. For example, while the heart physically beats, to keep you alive, and if the heart stops, that usually kills you faster than brain death or another organ, right? It also has certain effects on consciousness or relationships to consciousness. When you get excited, angry, or upset, it affects your heart rate and the contractility. Emotional states, prolonged grief over time can damage the heart, so on and so forth. These are the things I've been through, many of you have been through. So while consciousness may not, in a materialistic, scientific view, be seated in the heart, it has an intimate relationship with the heart, and your consciousness has a different relationship with your liver, right? We all know that when we get disgusted or upset, it can upset our digestion. So there is a relationship between the stomach, the small and large intestine, and consciousness, okay? And this is something Western medicine does very poorly with. They're just like, they sort of want to pretend it doesn't exist, but every time they hold a clinical trial, a scientific study, they have to have a control group because the human mind and body are hooked up so that just simply thinking you have powerful medicine can make a certain percentage of people well. And guess what? Those people that tend to have dramatic results with placebos are often people that have very strong imaginations. They may have greater reserves of stem cells, and they have a certain type of consciousness. They may be more amenable to things like hypnotherapy, right? So this mind-body connection is real, and it can be tracked using Chinese medicine. And once that practitioner gives you a Zong Fu diagnosis, again, at the very least, tongue pulse 20 questions. Sometimes they'll palpate. They'll ask you extra questions. They might look at the sclera of your eyes. There's Korean acupuncture. There's Japanese acupuncture. Japanese tend to really focus on hara diagnosis. They palpate the stomach region and the different regions and different internal organs. And Koreans do something with the palm, right? And I'm familiar with all these systems, and I've done hara diagnosis. I've even looked at and done a little bit of therapeutic Korean hand acupuncture, right? And so on and so forth. And then what happens is they give you a prescription. Now the prescription in a really good practitioner will be for dietary changes, acupuncture. They'll make you an herbal formula and even offer certain exercises and lifestyle diagnosis. I remember when I was in clinic at Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, I had certain patients come in and I would do my diagnosis. Now, I was in the acupuncture only program, but you learn what classical herbal formulas to give, right? Whereas you don't progress to actually physically making formulas and customizing formulas. Someone that has a lot of more extra money and time will often take the acupuncture and herbology program, and it's a heavier course load and a lot more money, which I didn't have, and they can make individualized formulas. But I mean, I in a sense cheated. I studied all the herbal textbooks, and you had to buy them anyway because they're part of Zong Fu, learning Zong Fu. So at home, I would often make myself herbal formulas, right? So, but most martial artists actually use stuff like Xiaoyawan, which is free and easy wonder, and Jiaowei Xiaoyawan, strange flavor, free and easy wonder, which is you can add enhanced herbs to it. Many martial artists take what's called 6-flavor Romania pills, okay, which I'm having trouble recalling the Chinese, and strange flavor 6-flavor Romania, which adds more kidney tonics. Kidney tonics tend to be longevity herbs. There are herbs, of course, like ginseng, which are powerful, which have to be used judiciously. There's astragalus and codonopsitis maybe, which are proven longevity herbs. I mean, they do studies with mice, fruit flies, rats, and all these creatures that they give it to tend to have far longer lifespans, have more sex, have more offspring because it affects fertility, so on and so forth. Many of these things are telomerase inhibitors, things like that. Okay, so yes, and there's things like spring wine, winter wine. There's a lot of like Deta medicine, but there's also internal Deta to take if you get injured. And I find, like, if you look at the Chinese martial arts community, if you look at those people in the Chinese martial arts community that stay active in it all their life and also do the Chinese medical interventions either by themselves or with the aid of traditional practitioners, they tend to not just be active longer, they tend to be far healthier in their old age, and they tend to live longer. Okay, it's something you begin to notice, right? You look at the different practitioners, and also when they get to the end of their lives, they often look a little different, right? And part of it is different Asian diets. I mean, if you look at the Japanese traditional diet, it's extremely healthy, right? And you see many, for instance, Shotokan masters. Shotokan is considered an external style. But I will tell you, if you look at how long many Shotokan masters live and the level of health they have until the very end, there is a deep internal segment to it. There's a lot of deep breathing. There's a lot of mental focus and concentration, right? And it also helps if you start it young and you build this infrastructure in your body, right? So, and I often, you see people like the late Kanazawa who got into Tai Chi, and Gogen Yamaguchi who got into Hatha Yoga, and they lived very long and did a lot of good teaching and a lot of good work over their life. Many of these karate practitioners and jiu-jitsu practitioners living in Asia also, aside from their Western medical interventions, did variations of Oriental medicine, okay? And I find to this day, I talk to people from Asia, they're like, yeah, it's not unusual or out of the ordinary for people to do one type of medicine for one type of condition and another type of medicine more for things like longevity, preventative medicine, and so on and so forth. So that is something to consider as a martial artist. We all want to be healthy, and any form of healthcare, any form of medical intervention that makes you healthier is life extension. And if you could have your life extended and the capabilities of a younger person, right? For example, you don't say you could have your life extended to 120 years, but when you get to about 70, you're very unable, decrepit, in pain, immobile, and starting to lose some of your mental capacities. That doesn't seem like a blessing, right? But if you could live to be 120 years old, and up until, the week or the day that you die, you're mobile. Your limbs are working good. You may even be able to do some martial arts. You can go for walks in the park. You can digest your food. You have clear thoughts. Wouldn't that be a blessing, right? And same thing. I mean, say you could live 1,000 years in good health. Now, the only limitation then is wealth. Okay, if you live to be 150 years old and you're in good health, and you're dirt poor, there's just a lot you can't take advantage of. But on the other hand, if you get to keep your mind, you have earning potential. All right. So martial arts, aside from protecting you from potential harm from an attacker, should enhance your life, your health, and hopefully your longevity, and a good, healthy longevity. Okay, that's why I got up this morning. I got some cardio to do. Today's a training day, but a light training day. I'm gonna probably hop on the e-bike, and again with the power off in the mornings, go for my ride. Maybe stop in the park, do some forms or something like I did Monday. Worked out real well. And then I've got to hit the gym, and I'm going to do a light gym workout. I'm going to do some kind of weights. I focus mostly on upper body because as I near this contest, I notice if I do heavy weightlifting, if I do squats, leg extensions, I find that I can't quite move the legs like I want them to with the power and flexibility. And it may not even be a noticeable thing for other people, but I notice the nuances. I'm trying to focus more on what's going to happen at the Show Me State Games. That's my plan. And I still do legs. I like hopping upstairs, which I'm great that I can do that. The e-bike has helped my joints so much that I spontaneously hop or jump, stairs, and I often take 2 stairs at a time when I'm making trips to the laundry room to wash and dry my laundry. And I did a lot of stance work yesterday, even though that wasn't a training day. So I'm still training the legs, but I'm using martial arts and body weight. And then I go in the gym, and it's more like a high rep, multi-set workout using upper body, and I use the abdominal machine. We want to be healthy. We don't want to overtrain. We want a long, healthy life, and we want a long, capable life, a long, active life. All right? And of course, health and happiness to you all. Hope you all have a wonderful day.